Okay. All right. So let me just set a couple of things up because I need to edit my audience. Right now it locks it automatically. I don't know why. Hello, YouTubers that are watching this, public. Okay, great. Now we're definitely live and should be able to share this. So let me just review. I have a kid's song in my head. Okay, share.
I'm sharing this to my page as well.
I will share to my group, which I'm back in now. Guided Ones Free Community. Good morning, loves. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go. All right. Were you able to share it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Perfect. Let me just set my gallery up here. We're good. Okay, perfect. Yes. All right. I just had an intense conversation for 15 minutes prior to us hitting record and go live. Good intensity. Yeah, I think we have some juicy bits to share. I mean, we're sitting there going, what should we call this? It's just like how to do life with
life with Leanna and ISHA.
Here's how you do everything in life. We will give you all the answers. No, but it is a really serious, like very grounded conversation that we want to have, right? Because I think there's some good bits we want to share. Do you want to start? I'm feeling all kerfuffled in my brain, getting all the tech done here.
I know. Yeah, let's take a moment because this tech stuff just like scrambles the brain a little bit, and then we want to just have a moment of just kind of being together and having this conversation and yeah, it's like taking inventory of our parts and who's here.
Yeah, you know? Taking inventory. Yeah, do take inventory. But we do have an important conversation about, so I know 2020 was a big opener for many people. It's a big shifter. It threw us into like, catapulted us into this other timeline, whether we were going or not, there we were. And I know that there was some reverberations on that in 2021 for people. For some people, it was a very internal thing. For some people, it was a financial thing. I know for me, it was like, I had to let so much of my vision go and my business go and really discern what was really for me at the time and really become that mother that I said I would be when I agreed to have children and then rebuild a little bit after that. So there's a big recalibration going on, I think is what I'm really getting at. And I think with this recalibration, it's a very natural, innate thing as a human to want to figure it out on our own, but then also realize we can't do that. And so we seek some level of guidance, some level of what is out there that I can kind of hold on to or like bring me back from the ocean, the depths of my being at right now. And for some of us, it's like, okay, I've recalibrated my vision and now I need support, moving forward with that. But I just think either way, there's this craving for guidance right now.
Yeah.
Does that feel true for you?
I agree, Leanna. I feel like, sort of in a global sense, it all sort of like came crumbling down, like everything that we thought was real.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is real life. It was like, no, this is not real life. This is just like all smoke and mirrors, all the curtain falls and we're just like, oh, right.
Oh, it's just the Wizard of Oz is just a guy behind the curtain. Like so many illusions and so many veils lifted and, whatever that means for you, but like,
yeah,
smoke clears and here we are heading into 2022.
And you said the word illusion and it's like, part of my morning prayer is to love without illusion, is to live without illusion, love without illusion.
Yeah.
And that has been the process for me of this, like this, for those of you who like use the tarot, it really is sort of the tower crumbling.
Yeah.
And crumbling can mean dissolution of relationships. It can mean burning your business down and sort of rebranding, like all of those things. And even sort of within yourself, like your own identity, that can be
Oh,
part of like,
that's a huge one for 2021, was
yeah,
such an identity shift. And I think in the work I do, it's, as you know, I do lots of work with parts, and a lot of beautiful inspiration from Richard Swartz and internal family systems has been a game changer in my coaching. And just being able to utilize his map, I think we're always searching for something to make sense of the things that don't make sense.
yeah,
And this was something that just like light bulbs went off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it gets you. It assumes we're in our heads, but then it knows how to help you get in your body. Like, it's such a spiritually driven process, I think. So
yes,
with all that said, like, there are these parts, and there was just this craving from this part of me that was so beautiful and so orientated toward truth and balance and cohesiveness and what's real. And I resisted that part for so long, and even judged it a little bit, like, you don't believe in my vision, you don't think we can do it. And it's like these inner children having this, this fight between each other on a playground. Well, if you're not my friend, I'm not your friend. Like, it's just this
yeah.
inner stuff going on. And at the end of the day, I had to get really honest with myself. And it was like, yeah, no, this is not how I want it to feel. This is not how I want to do it. This is not how I want to run my business. And for the first time, and because I'm radically honest here, and the first time since I started my business, I had no one-on-one clients. Like, contracts had completed, my group program had completed, and I was left with this, had to face the fear where it's like, wow, I really like, I have nothing to call a business right now.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
and that was really scary. And I needed support so bad through that. I got a therapist, that was fabulous. But, I share all of this to be transparent, and to say that when we're in that, we're actually really not meant to do that on our own. Like,
Yeah,
we're just not.
yeah.
We're just not. And I think when we're in that state of just desperation or oblivion in ourselves, to be very dramatic, there are ways that we decide, there are parts of us that decide that needs the work. And I think that's kind of the conversation we wanted to talk about. That was, sorry, that was my big TED talk on my 2021. Like, that shit was real, man. And like, yes, I built it back up. I like knew how to make it easy again. I knew all the things. I'm back in the game, but like,
And sometimes like I just had this image come in, back in the game, right? Can sometimes be like you're hanging on the cliff, right? And then this piece breaks off, and then you grab onto it again. You're like, I'm back in the game.
I don't know for how long. I don't know if it's gonna last. I have no idea.
Right. And then you hang on again. I'm like, I'm still here, I'm still hanging on. Sometimes it really feels that way. And it just yeah, in those moments we're not meant to do it alone. And it's not like we do need support and just like a little bit of anchoring sometimes, or mirroring.
Mirroring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mirroring our greatness.
yeah, mirroring back what's possible. But I always also find, like, and that's what I find from the Queen's Assembly, is like just the witnessing of what actually is,
Yes.
and to me, that's what divine guidance is there to do. It's there to hold a level of possibility, and a level of like a standard that you can operate, a belief system, a way back to yourself, all of those wonderful things that actually help move us along, that move the proverbial needle forward. So yeah. And someone or something to actually receive us as we are, where we are,
Yeah.
to help us get true and honest and aligned with, I am afraid. I doubt my worthiness. I don't think I'm enough, instead of trying to just constantly get out of that. And right? Like, we can't.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like,
And a lot of mindset work is designed to get us out of that, right? And I
yeah,
respect mindset work. I use mindset work.
same.
And yes, right, like bringing it back to right now. Where are you right now? And just holding space for that right now allows it to sort of dissolve, and allows some of the mindset work then to sort of like begin to flow
Have
in
a
that.
landing place, right?
Yes.
Like, have a land. It's like, I'm doing this clearing resistance on the call tonight with my group, and it's like, clearing resistance isn't a process to avoid the resistance. What if it was actually just easy as like, I feel really resistant. I am so fucking afraid to be seen. I'm afraid to be rejected. I'm afraid I'm not good enough. Like, these are real things that are happening. And I think when we soften into that, when we're courageous enough to tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always talk about approval, like approving of the fear.
Yeah.
Like, yes, thank
Yeah.
you for showing up for me, fear.
Yep.
And how do you then relate to it? You know, because when we start pushing away fear, fear gets bigger, right? And then we feel stuck.
Yeah,
Like,
it's because it's going to do whatever it has to do to get your attention.
exactly.
And it can come in really, really hard. You can have panic attacks. Like mine always reverberates up here, and it's like this thing that goes on up here. That's where I feel it. Some people feel it in their gut. Some people feel like a hole in their body.
I feel like a wall. Like I feel like like an impasse.
Yeah. Mine, my fear shows up as it takes my whole body out in terms of, it starts going like pins and needles. It goes down my hands, goes down my arms. Actually, no, it starts in my face. So that's how it shows up for me, is that deep fear. And to me, the best way to process it is just to really allow it to be what it is. And when you need to, you can, this is the thing. Here's the thing is like, I think we forget how in control we are in terms of physical responses. Because they're only trying, and I'm sure this is true in your work, like they're only trying to get our attention because they need us to know something, period. And it's like, we can also ask them to pull back. Like they don't have to let us know through our body alone. They can, like, we can ask them just, okay, so just pull back the intensity, even if it's like 5%, so that I can actually have space from you so I can get to know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't do it exactly the way you do, but yeah, like all of a sudden, like look at it, have a relationship with it, and just being able to look at it creates a little bit of that distance.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, who are you? What are you? What do you need from me?
Yeah. Who are you and what are you and what do you need from me? And what if it's that simple? Right. And like, what is the story they're carrying? What is it they need us to know? What's the fear? And here's the thing is like, you can let that be true for that part. You don't have to try to convince it otherwise. You can let it be true for that part, lowercase t, right? And hold the uppercase T truth of what is actually very real.
Yeah.
It is very real. You're a divine being of God, or it is very real that you are worthy because you are as you are as you are. The isness of you is the enoughness of you. Like, what if you learned how to have both and not feel diminished by this vulnerability that you have?
Yeah, I often think of it as having two identities, right? There's my adult knowing, that deeper knowing self.
Yeah.
And there's my inner child who's hanging on to like the sides of the door, and she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, you know, and all I have to do, the adult me, the deeper knowing me, is to stand next to her.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, this is scary. You know, and then she's just like, then she feels heard and she's just like, yeah, I'm really scared. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, like what if all this happens and this happens? Yeah. But you know what? If it does, I will stay with you. And
I will stay with you. Ooh, that one hit. So I feel like that's like a big takeaway opportunity for everybody. Did you just feel what Isha just said? Like, I will stay with you. And mine's very similar. Mine is like, would you like to come with me? Because that presupposes and assumes like we as self, as the divine guided leaders of ourselves that we are, the divinity of us is going to do it anyways. Right. And it's not in a way where it's like, well, I'm doing it, so like it or not, but it's more just like an invitation of like, would you like to come in and see what we're up to here? Yeah. And to me, that's been a game changer in my own energy as I move forward, because there's been times where I've been so afraid. Right. I've felt that part come in so much. And it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm listening now. Like, I'm sorry. I tried to avoid you because I wanted to do the damn thing, but like, I get it. This conversation needs to be had. And And I just invite her, like, would you like to come with me anyways? Because this is really fun what we're doing. And
Yeah.
like, and I've studied this for years, and I've been teaching. And so sometimes I just remind her, like, would it help to know that, like, and I say mummy because I look at it like that. Like, would it help to know, like, mummy's been doing this for 20 years now? She's like, really? That's a long time. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Because at what point is it enough? At what point are you enough?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
decides that?
Right. Yeah, we have to decide that because, I always think like, the things that have us feeling like we're not enough or we're too much or have us feeling shame or the places where we make ourselves wrong or where we feel like imposters, those are all universal to human beings.
Yeah. Say that again a little bit louder.
It's a universal experience.
Everybody has that happening in their system.
And people who have meditated for eons have that. And so, what I clicked into was like, oh, if it's universal, then it's not personal.
Yes. If it's universal, it's not personal. It's not. And that's the thing, is I think we think we're the only one having this experience.
Exactly.
Like, I want to just clarify a few things. People may have an assumption about me, for example, or the way that I may show up. It's like I may show up very big and happy and whatever, confident or very anchored in, grounded. This is the feedback that I get, and I receive it and I appreciate it. But also, like I'm so afraid of life sometimes. Like I've like purposely avoided my Facebook group for so long. Like I was like, ooh, if I go in, like people are going to see that they're in this group and they're going to remember and they're going to be like, oh, Leanna, this is shit. I'm out of here. And then I'm going to drop all my numbers. And then I can't handle people leaving me. Like these are real things that are going on all the time. And I think we don't have to do it all at once. Like I purposely intentionally put off my facing that Facebook group for a long time. And now that I've like given myself permission to not have to worry or think about it, it's like, okay, now I can. Now I can. Now I can.
Yeah. And then you like that, what you just said is pinging to me as we have to fully have our no's sometimes.
Oh, yes.
To move into our yeses.
Yes. So much of that. You have to have your no.
Yeah. The
Like,
part of you like, I am not doing it. I am like, I'm gonna throw it all away, right? To have your tantrum, have your feelings. And with the understanding that you're allowing your resistance to kind of move a little bit, right?
yeah.
To have its 15 minutes, right? Or 5 minutes, however long it is, to just like, all right, here it is. I don't want to fucking do this.
Yeah, period. Like I'm so afraid. Like, and that's something that I say on a call. Like if we're on a call, usually by the time people get on a call with me to talk about working together, they come in already as a yes. But I also want to make space for whatever no's they may have, because I think, again, it's a universal thing that when you're presented with an opportunity that may be so perfectly aligned with you, that may be so empowering, of course there's going to be an objection. Of course you're going to have a part of you that says no. Like I would get very wary of like, oh no, I'm in 150%. It's like, okay, cool. Like I'm super excited, but like, I always ask them before we sort of finalize, like, is there anything you anticipate feeling, thinking, or believing or sensing that may feel like resistance about working together? Like, just to have an honest conversation about it. Like, think about yourself and your process, and like, do you anticipate that you may feel a reverberance of a no later? And let's have that conversation now. Or at least make allotment for it coming forward in the future. And then I can support you in that. Like,
that's really beautiful. Yeah. That you just created safety for the person.
Yeah, and I get feedback, they appreciate that. And I mean, a lot of objections, tend to be around money, right? And so I always make like an allotment to have that open conversation too, and I think people appreciate that because that's like the real stuff going on. Like,
Yeah. And it's like, it's not exactly, am I worth investing in, but it's like, it's more, is it going to work?
is it
Like,
going to work? Is it
I'm
going to
gonna,
work?
yeah, because people are wanting solutions.
Of
People
course.
want solutions. They want a way through. They want a pathway.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to this human thing is, I know I have this fear. I'm sure you've got this fear is like, it didn't work before. What if it doesn't work again? Or like, I've let myself down before. I've made promises to myself and I've not kept them. And I'm really afraid that if I make this big promise to myself, that I'm going to forget myself or lose my way. And I just want to offer like, that's okay. So you can have that. And you can also hold trust that you are a sovereign being with this beautiful radio signal that's connected with somebody that can actually support you in exactly that moment that you may be having.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to come back to something that you said before, that like when we're doing parts work,
Mm-hmm.
there is a real stretching that happens, like where we're having to stretch our bodies to be able to hold all of these parts, and that takes, right, that's a process, right?
Yeah.
And so what I find is that, like when we were talking about fear, we look at the fear, we start feeling the fear, and we're like, we contract.
We contract.
We
Yeah.
don't even like have a relationship with it, because it's like, I don't even want to turn in that direction, right? We have all these other parts of ourselves coming in, like, don't even go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the management of these other parts that come in that get in the way of actually feeling the things and creating space for them.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. I look at it like, so in the way Richard Swartz has set up his map is that you have protectors, right?
Yes.
You have these two facets that protect you all the time. Some of them they're just more like managers, and they're just managing, like they might criticize you, judge you. They manage like maybe what you wear. Like my manager was like, Leanna, you got to put some clothes on and you got to show up, like, so it's a good manager because it helps me feel better, like, but some of them are there and I always say they work the hardest for the least amount of pay. They're the ones that we give the least accolades to because we get annoyed with them. And then we have other parts that are they're very immediate. He calls them the firefighters, and they're there to just get you out of the feeling. Like if you get too close to that really soft, vulnerable part of yourself, that very often young part that's most exiled away, like they're going to stop you.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
it's like you've got these managers, and if you get through the managers, if they let you through into the feeling, you're going to come up with a firefighter. And if they let you in, then you're into the deep, deep parts,
Mm-hmm.
the ones most buried. And so I like my offering is that, yeah, it can be really scary, but actually I really want you to trust that your system is built so perfectly to get you there calibration by calibration. So you're never going to go right into this. And that's the fear, is like, what if I get swallowed up by my own self, by my own fears? What if it swallows me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is everybody getting this? Like this is this thing that Isha said, like it's this human experience. Like you're afraid you're going to implode, explode, fall into a deep hole and never get out, go down into the lava in the center of the earth. Like we're afraid of all the same things. But our system has been created in our own minds, actually, to not let that happen. So the fear isn't going to kill you, even though we think it will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like a really scared 4-year-old hiding under her bed.
Yeah. And, and this is kind of like segueing into, that holding piece, the capacity piece, like we have all these ways, like all these universal beliefs are collective, right? It's part of our collective brainwashing, our collective trauma.
Yeah.
And we, like, the invitation is to create practices like the one that you're describing, like parts work, right? Where you direct that energy inward, where you direct that sovereign, loving, mama energy inward to those parts as a way to like support them, move the resistance a little bit if that's what needs to happen. And also what we're doing is creating space to hold.
Yeah.
Right. It's like this is nervous system work. This is body work. This is energy work. You're creating systems to be able to hold more capacity for emotions, for these experiences, for these parts.
Yeah.
And for me, like using pleasure as a practice, similar to even directing that loving energy towards myself, that approval of the resistance or the approval of the fear is partly a pleasure practice. It's like, because it's coming from loving energy, because it's not about pushing it away or attaching to something else or trying to get out of it with some addiction, but about like just being with it and just softening to it and using your love energy to meet
it. And here's the thing is, I think we all have this part that thinks the work is so complex, or like the way to the thing that I need to feel or want is so complicated. And I need this like really big system. And it's just what Isha said, like, can you soften yourself? And that's just like, can you slow your breath down? Can you feel your own body? Can you feel yourself in your body? And can you notice, are you willing to bring awareness to your body? Even just that act alone softens. Awareness can soften. These are just very universal, basic teachings and philosophies that have been around for millennia, because this is what humans fail to remember all the time. All the time. And this is the most basic thing, right? It's to like, do you know how to get in your body? I say this as somebody who loves to live in her head, right? Even though I'm a yoga teacher, I mean, like, or was, I guess I haven't taught yoga in a while, but
and if you have more trauma in your body, that's going to be
yeah. And listen, for many of us, there's so much memory in there. There's so much hurt and anguish and grief and pain, that it makes sense. And I totally get that you would find subtle or not so subtle ways to avoid being in your body. I get that. I do that too, but that's the way in. And so I think with all of that, you can use everything that we have just shared to help coordinate your mind and coordinate your body and your soul into being able to have a clear and clean decision and choice and discernment around what best guidance you need right now. Right. And to, just to kind of maybe bring that quickly into the conversation. It was something we talked about, like what part of you is deciding?
Yeah.
Right. And so I know that the coaching industry can market to our pain.
And market to our insecurities and to our to I don't want to say brokenness, but to what's missing, right? To the scarcity.
Yeah, which can feel a problem can feel broken. It can feel like something's broken in you. Something isn't working the way that I thought it was supposed to. Like, I fear that I don't have this thing. There's this thing, I can't name it. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I don't have it.
Why am I not getting it?
Why am I not getting it? Right. And so, of course, it makes sense that we're going to be scanning the frigging world and on our phones to the things that might fix the problem that we think we have. And it is a problem to think that you're missing something. I totally agree. I get that. But the problem isn't you. Because we all have that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and that's why the part when I make a decision to receive coaching, I want it to come from desire. I want it to come from want. I want this.
Mm-hmm.
Like to have it come from like a sensual place in me.
Yeah.
Where that already feels abundant, but it's like, I want more. Like
Yeah.
almost, it can be hungry, but not like I'm starving, but like, oh, that would be really good.
Mm. Yeah.
Really.
That's such an empowered place to decide from. Have you always decided from that place for your mentorship? I'm like, that just like feels like next level, because I'm just like, well, so there's that way you can go about it. Like, but you're in the work, right? Like this is your medicine, right? Is to be able to notice, locate, and allow that space to enter the fullness of you.
Yes. Yeah, because when I started my 4-year somatic certification, I came in like, this is going to save my life.
Ah, yeah.
Oh my God, I need this. And yes, right? Like it was good to feel that need. That's where I was in that moment. And I'm so glad that I made the decision, because
Yeah.
it really changed my life. And in a way, it did save me,
Yeah.
And sometimes we make decisions like that, and we have to make decisions like that. And I had to feel my need, because I was a need denier. I was like, oh, I don't need anything. I'm good.
Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I needed to feel my need. I needed to feel my desperation to allow myself to receive. I needed to be on the floor, reaching up and saying, please help me.
Yeah. Yeah. I really resonate with that. I feel like that was a part of where I came from, like the part that made the decision for my first coach that I hired, which was a really big investment.
Yeah.
Like it was a really big investment. But I think the part that makes the decision will in many ways inform whatever result you leave with. And all results are results. They're all good. We can neutralize this like, oh, I got a great result or I didn't. It's like, that's all in our perception in many ways. But I also get that there are programs where you're sold this idea and you come up going, what just happened? Like, right? And that's not, we're not here to make that wrong or have a conversation about that. We'll acknowledge it. But like, when you know what part of you is making the choice, when you can be most self-directed, when you can really appreciate that this decision isn't coming from a place where I perceive something's wrong with me and I don't have what I need and somebody's going to fix me or somebody's going to, right? That's a very different place to come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? We want to come from a very sovereign place of like, no, like I'm a whole being as I am, and I'm looking for more expansion in that. Or I'm curious about what it would feel like to be a whole being.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And there are skills that we're here to learn that are actually just going to help, some of the parts of our vision that maybe like an online business, there are certain skills that you do need to have, that are very helpful. Just saying. There are gaps. There are gaps. I get it. When I first started, my messaging was horrible. I was like, what am I talking about? So like messaging is a great gap to fill.
Yeah. And even when you can feel the gaps, let's say with writing, because I have certainly felt that myself, it can come from a place of like, I want to make it like better. Like there's a possibility of making it better. I want it to feel easier and I want it to feel like delicious. I want to feel inspired to write. It can come from all of those really empowered places of let's get some extra support here, right?
Yeah.
All back to being able to receive it. Because like the helpers of the world, right? The visionaries, like we're not so good at, giving to ourselves, and we like to help other people and put it all out there. But when it comes to us, it's just less of a tendency or less likely that we'll just give and allow ourselves to feel supported, to have it be easeful, because some of the self-sacrificial dynamics.
Yeah. And that doesn't really serve anyone.
No, because then we get depleted.
Yeah. And we go into a spiral of like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong. We make so much meaning out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to.
Ooh.
I haven't been breathing super deep this whole time because I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I want people to know about your event. Can you tell everybody? I'm going, so come play with me.
Yes. I'm so excited about this event. One thing that I've been learning so much about over the last 3 or 4 years is the power of pleasure.
Yeah.
And, I grew up in the same scarcity environment most people grew up with, just some like just scarcity mentality in my family. I also grew up in like a colonized place, so there was a lot of ways that I received that message. And just like playing with pleasure is just something that's really like fascinating to me in terms of like giving to myself, in terms of creating space in my nervous system, shifting my mood, moving energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a powerful tool for business, for relationships, just for like me relating to myself and creating space within myself. Just like what I was saying earlier about like meeting those parts, that is part of my pleasure practice. But what I'm offering on Saturday, December 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern is called Ravish, Sacred Self-Seduction. And my work, as a sort of embodiment person, sovereignty coach, is about connecting our heart energy to our pelvic energy, to like a really powerful, passionate place, grounded, open, receiving, relational. And so this practice is a way for us to practice connecting to our bodies, using like directing that energy of desire that we were just talking about, directing it inward, really learning that source lives within us, that we can use that source energy to soothe ourselves, to check in with our bodies, to have a relationship with like your yeses and your nos, your boundaries. We're going to be playing with consent. We're going to be self-touch, exploring different types of touch, and really nourishing ourselves, giving to ourselves. And then we're going to end with clitoral stimulation, sort of like a yoni kind of touch stroking practice, so it's about building capacity for sensation, because it's, what we're talking about here on a very like body level is like all of these experiences that we've been having 2020, 2021, and who knows what's coming in 2022. They're high sensation experiences.
Yeah.
And we sort of like, we start melting down when we go into overwhelm. And overwhelm is just your nervous system saying, I'm full, I'm at capacity, I can't hold anymore. Don't add another thing, please.
Don't add another thing. And in my work, it's very much the same. It's just too many voices trying to get your attention.
Exactly. And
one voice taking the whole system over. That's what overwhelm is. Yeah.
And the pleasure practice softens that border, that part that, the nervous system goes shut down.
Yeah.
And pleasure softens it. It opens it again.
Yeah.
I mean, just past weekend, Leanna, I went into some dark places this weekend where I just like, wow, the last time I was here was like, it's a while ago. This is really, really dark, know, and I wasn't feeling sexual at all. And I am going to self-pleasure now, because it was just like, I'm grabbing all the tools out of my toolkit, like what's going to work, and I did it. And I got out of bed and I was like, oh, that was good. That was like, that was gentle. I feel like I have a little bit more space.
Yeah.
I feel a little brighter, and it was just a very simple thing, but it's like, wow, it fucking works.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works. Like the work works.
Yeah. And pleasure is not something that we get outside of ourselves. It's like, it's just about dropping in. Yeah. It's like it's the technology of just being in our bodies. Like this is just the magic is right here.
It's right here. It's right here. Like there was a rule I made for myself 2 years ago. I remember it so distinctly. I kept running into this like experience of losing things, like not being able to find things.
Yeah.
And I made this rule where I'm like, Leanna, everywhere, like everything that you need, look right in front of you. And I just as a practice and just a curiosity, I did that. And anytime I needed something, I'm like, oh, it's right there. Like it was just like this fun little thing. But like all that to say, everything you just said, it's everything that you're looking for is already here in you.
Yes.
You've just forgotten the way sometimes. We've been so conditioned out of the way because the
Yes.
way threatens. It's a threatening thing for the paradigm we're living in. It's threatening for you to be empowered.
Yes. You've been conditioned out of the way.
You've been conditioned out of the way. I believe that is a tagline for something. Okay, we have been doing this probably for what, like an hour now? This is like our longest one ever. So this is our podcast. This is our episode podcast. Okay, come though, come. So so you've got the link on your thing, on your come, get the kids out of the house if you've got them. I sent my husband and children, they're going away that day.
That's wonderful. I'm going to add the link to this chat once to the video once it posts to my page.
Okay.
I'll send. You have the link, and you can add it to the comments section.
Yeah, I do. And so I'm gonna stop our live here. This will be put on YouTube as well. And have a brilliant day, everyone. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So this workshop is a 2-hour workshop. It's $8, and with the registration, you get access to my private online community, Revolutionary Rompereglas, which is it's a community. It's like a somatic healing collective for healers, bridge builders, creative entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs. And it's basically a space to practice pleasure and to connect heart to sex, like expressing your fiercest and most powerful life force energy for the greater good. So it's a beautiful space.
So like everybody needs to get in there. Really, it's resonating with me a lot. Like my body's like, okay, we're ready to hold a little bit more. So I'm super excited and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm just going to stop the recording. You and I can say a proper goodbye, but for everybody else, we love you. And I'm doing my pop-up visionary group. You just check my page. You'll see all the information. I'm not going to go into it, but we meet tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Mwah. Goodbye, everybody.